Hello friends, in this video I will show you the best strippers, the best wire strippers for the backyard recycler. These are my results in comparing different wire stripper designs I found in YouTube, including some improvements I have added. In the description below I will give proper credit to those colleagues who served as inspiration for the strippers I have evaluated. One of the main topics of my channels is taking apart anything that can be taken apart. So I can reuse materials, recycle them, upcycle them, transform them into other goods, or in the last case, sell them as raw materials. In this journey, I've been accumulating a great amount of wiring, copper wire jacketed in PVC. Now that I have just too much wire available, I have to make a stripping tool to be able to get rid of it. The first thing I tried was using this tool, a flaring tool, but the blade I had to put in there kept on slipping out and it simply was useless. I had to throw it away. Oops, sorry. Then I got serious and started studying different YouTube videos. And I made quite a few tools, copying those I saw in the videos. But soon I find out that many of those tools aren't that good as they seem. They don't show the failures. They edit out the failures and they show only the part that is successful. In that sense, I must congratulate our colleague GLMB8513 from Germany. What kind of name is that? I must congratulate you for being honest and not cutting out that failure you showed in your video. I have reviewed strippers driven by hand, motorized strippers, roller compression strippers, horizontal razor strippers, vertical razor strippers, wheel razor strippers, and screw cutting strippers. And they all can fail at some point. My main conclusion with all this experience is that each kind of stripper works well only with a particular kind of wire. How the stripper works defines what kind of wire it can manage well, it can strip. So if you collect a big variety of wires, single core or single stranded, stranded or multi-stranded, multi-conductor cables with 2, 3 or more wires in it, loudspeaker cables, braided and armored cables, you will need more than one type of stripper. Now, let's get down to business. First of all, we must classify our stock of cables, wires and cords according to kinds. Our main target is the individual wire. So let's bunch the multi-conductor cables on one side and the individual wires on another. All these are multi-conductor cables, all inside a sleeve. All these. This one also. These are individual. This one is a parallel wires, parallel wire, parallel wire. All those are individual wires, single core and stranded. Now, we must also separate the solid core wires from the multi-strand wires. Solid core, we leave there. That's the solid core, or single strand if you want. These are multi-stranded. We could also separate the wires and cables by sizes, but as you'll see later on, this is not necessary because the best stripper will strip all sizes with very few adjustments. Now, before starting to strip the individual wires we've grouped, we must get rid of the cables, stripping off their jackets so we can classify the wires inside them. Many of these multi-conductor cables can be easily stripped from their jackets by hand. with no need of a tool. We simply cut a starter at one end, we pull the wires out, and that's it. Very easy. Then we have the individual wires for stripping. With parallel cords, like this one for example, also we just have to pull them apart. However, there are some multi-conductor cables that have very strong PVC jackets, and we'll have to use a tool for these. When I started off comparing these tools, I thought our best option, my best option, would be a wheel, a cutting wheel like this one, built like this. Instead of using a vertical blade like this one. I thought a wheel razor would be much slower in losing the sharpness of its blade. But I didn't consider other issues, as you can see in this video.
First of all, we cut a slice there to open it up. So we have a start. Then push it in and the idea here is to help it up. Then we have this problem. As you can see, the wire, the cable got into the side there, was pushed into the side, and the cutting wheel is not working.
As I mentioned before, my tool is not the only one that has suffered from this problem. Our friend from Germany showed us he also suffered occasionally with this issue. As well as Jose Ruiz from Spain, in his video he also mentioned the topic of this issue. And probably many other tools created in that way have the same problem. This tool won't work unless you're able to produce the perfect cutting wheel, perfectly round, perfectly centered, perfectly sharp, and a non-wobbling wheel, together with a perfect wire guide, and both perfectly in line. Otherwise, the wire tends to move out of the cutting wheel. This is especially important with small gauges. I'm convinced that if this tool you could get it to work, it probably would be the best tool for cutting off the jacket of big cables like these. Now, apart from that, the best tool I have found for cutting the jackets off big cables is a vertical knife.
Now I changed the wheel for a bar where I ground out a cutting edge like a knife. And let's try it out. Oh, now it works.
However, as this video proves, you really need a very good winch to pull the cables through to make it fast and effective. One word of warning. If you're working with a motorized stripper, with a drill or a motor attached to it, never feed the wiring in. Always pull the wiring out. A drill can get, the wiring can get stuck, the drill jerks, and in those jerks it can pull your hand in, and if you aren't fast enough, your fingers can get caught. And as you can see in the videos, I've been doing this wrong. So I want you to understand, don't do it as I did it in the videos, because I learned the difficult way. I've got all my fingers still, but I was just about to. So always pull the wires out, don't push them in. Now, we've got all our wires out of their jackets, separated in batches of individual wires, multi-stranded, single core. Let's continue now with the solid core or single strand wires. If I try to cut into this PVC with a knife, most probably the knife will slide along the copper. This will make the knife blunt very quickly. Most probably this is the result Meteor 69 from France will get eventually. But meanwhile, his contraption is probably one of the most stunning and worth checking. So none of these tools using cutting edges is our best option for these kinds of wires. No. Our best tool in this case is the one I found in video by Biker52 from France. And it is probably the most popular design in YouTube. This tool has two iron rollers that squash the PVC onto the copper wire. As the wire is a solid core, it cuts into the PVC, removing it very easily.
We first of all have to get the proper pressure well tight there, so it really squeezes the plastic. There we are. It came out very easy.
If the surface of the rollers is very smooth, they won't pull the wire. So at least the motorized roller must have its surface roughened or carved. You can't use this tool for stripping stranded or multi-strand wires, because compressing PVC against stranded wire won't cut the PVC, however much you squash it. The best tool for stripping stranded or multi-strand wire is an enclosed sleeve, a hole drilled in wood, like the one I found in a video by Elias Rojas from the US, where a vertical blade cuts into the PVC.
This tool basically consists of the following. You have the cable we want to take the wires out of through a hole. We have a knife that will cut the sleeve of the wires, and we give attention to the system, making the knife cut into the sleeve, into the PVC, with this system up here. Now, this system, we can move it along this rail to different sizes of wiring. This rail here keeps the tension on the sleeve, on the PVC. Now, before we start cutting, we have to make a cut out here that will be our starter. That will show the route where the knife is going. So we put the knife there in its place. We put the rail up there, and if it is intense enough, we can give it more tension by turning this bolt. The nut that pulls the bolt up. Now we pull on this, and that should be enough to cut a hole all the way through. Now it isn't cutting very well, so we'll give it a bit more tension. Okay, we'll pull it back a bit, and give it a bit more tension. Now, that should be enough. And that goes. Like that. That is with this kind of cable. Now if we want to work one of these cables, we also have to open up the first centimeters of the wire. We look for the right hole. Probably it's this one, or it could be also this one. Let's see with this one how it goes. Place the cut upwards. Take the knife into the place where it should be. Run it along, and it doesn't have enough tension, so we have to give it more. Let's see how it goes. There we are. And so on. This is the perfect machine for wires that are multi-stranded. You can have different holes, and it has a vertical knife cutting into the PVC.
The only problem with the stripper is that you must do it by hand, one gauge per hole. But anyway, it is quite fast if you strip all the same size wires before changing the knife into another gauge. And if you want, you can add a motor or a crank to make it faster. An alternative to using a vertical blade is using the point of a screw, as our colleague Andrea Valle from Spain, who created probably the ultimate design in automation. A crank replaces a motor for rolling up long wires quite fast. You make a series of holes of different sizes between two bits of wood, right on center. You must previously fix a good hinge on the end of the wood so that the two sides of the holes meet perfectly well when closed. Then you separate the woods and drill a hole through the center of each groove, all the way through. You drive a nicely pointed screw through this hole. The point should reach the top of the groove. To strip a bit of wire, you must close the two bits of wood, fix them well to the table, strip an inch of wiring at its end, cut into the PVC about an inch, or more in length, and push it into the hole of the proper size. Turn the screw till you feel it's difficult to pull the wire, and pull it all through. As you can see, it cuts through the plastic very easily. You must be careful not to push the screw too far in, or else it will get tangled up in the strands of wire, and it'll get amok there, and it might cut, and it gets too hard pulling it anyway. Don't even try to strip multi-strand wire with a horizontal blade like the one made by Meteor 69. Or this one. You'll only end up frustrated. It is practically impossible to avoid the copper strands engaging with the blade. They get cut, tangled up, as you can see here.
And as you see, it got tangled up, it cut the wire, and it simply is impossible to get through.
In summary, according to my experience, in my opinion, the best wire strippers you can have are the following. For solid core, single-stranded wire, this is the best option. It will always be the best option. Very easy, fast, cuts open the PVC, and it's done in a second. Perfect. To cut open cables with many conductors in them, this is the best option. While I can't get a cutting wheel to do it, a knife through the center of a guide has proved very effective. The same if I used the cutting knife. For many conductors in a cable, this is very good for opening up the jacket of the cable and bringing out removing the wires. And for multi-stranded wires, stranded or multi-strand wires, this is also a perfect option. Each hole for different sizes, and a cheaper or easier to make option is this one. Simply a screw down a hole. Well, I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, share it with whoever you can, subscribe, and thanks for watching. Bye bye.